most of them were invented by him, like scalpels, bone saws, forceps, fine scissors for eye surgery. These are just some of them. There are 200 and we are still using them. And the catgut used for internal stitches that's still being used was discovered by him, and he discovered it that it could be used for internal stitches because it gets dissolved in human blood. And then comes Al-Khwarizmi, the Muslim mathematician. He is the one because of whom we are studying computer science over here using algorithms and algebra, which came from his book Al-Jabr wal-Muqabila. And then his later work was used by Fibonacci, which we recently studied. He took his work, he copied it, and he put up his name. He was an Italian mathematician. And then comes Al-Jazari, a very famous past physicist. He was a great physicist. He invented the thing called engine today. He worked out how a rotary circle could move another circle through shafts and gears. This is what we are using today in sports car rotary engines and trains. That is what Mr. Al-Jazari invented, and this is one significant invention from which we know what time we are in and what is the time and what is the time for our class. And this was the elephant clock. And then there is Mr. Abbas ibn Farnas. He dreamt of flying, that a man could fly 1,000 years before the Wright brothers, but we still know that the Wright brothers invented the airplane. But this person, he invented it. He discovered it. They took his idea, they put a tail, and now we know that the Wright brothers invented it. And then many of the things which one of utmost importance is Muslim astronomer. He calculated the Earth's circumference to be 40,253.4 kilometers exact to one decimal place that we are still using today. And then Muslim chemists were the first to invent the process of pure distillation that are used in every lab today. Now, I'd like to call my brother Zain Chishti to throw some more light on the social and cultural aspects.
Okay, now I'll discuss the social and cultural aspects of Islamic Golden Age. Now, I will start off with a quotation. I have a quotation from Bernard Lewis here. He said the caliphate, the empire under the caliphate was the first truly universal empire, which brought together people from different eras, Chinese, Italian, Indian, Middle East, North African, everywhere, Spain, white people, people from all over the world. You see, people from China, different continents from all over the world, people came together, they lived together, they shared things, and lived in harmony. Now discuss the political aspects, education, lifestyle, library, research, status, movement, and emphasis on the environmental studies, the studies made in the Golden Ages. First, the political aspect. Muslim society was ruled by a monarch, a caliph, but it had the elements of a parliamentarian government, like it had governors which are accountable to the caliph. And like we have nowadays, the governors, the ministers, they're responsible for different fields, different provinces, and they're answerable to the president or the prime minister. Same system was prevailing then. And now, back then, common men like you and me could access this caliph or the leader very easily. You can ask him questions, you can even file a case against him. And if he was charged, he will have to pay him or whatever the charge was. Then we come to the development of education. Top universities between the 18th and the 13th century were established by the Muslims. Now this is very important. How did this happen? There was a caliph named Muhammad Abdul Malik. He had a vast empire under him, which had different cultures and languages. Now what he said, that he wanted a uniform language for his empire, so he declared that Arabic has to be the uniform language. So what did this, that now the scholars which didn't have anything in common now have Arabic in common, and they could indulge in dialogues, they could meet, and they could discuss things, their inventions. So this established the basis of the universities, the top universities. Now the second point, now this is very interesting, the doctorate degree, now we know as the PhD. So this was given, this concept was given to this world by the Muslims. Now whoever they felt was literate enough or intelligent enough, they would give him the doctorate degree, and now the same degree is being given to you when you do the PhD. The last point, now I have some very prestigious names here. Harvard, Princeton, Oxford, Cambridge, Yale. But frankly, people like you and I can only dream to go to universities like these. But do you know that these universities were established on the basis of those Islamic universities between 8th and 13th century. Those universities laid the foundation for the topmost universities running nowadays. These were developments in education made back then in 18th to 13th century. Now the environmental studies. We commonly see there is pollution, global warming, different things are discussed by scientists nowadays. These are really hot topics. Now the scientists are really concerned about the environment. But people back then, the environment back then in the 18th, 10th or 11th century knew that they're going to have the problems for pollution, contamination and soil erosion. So back then they had 3D science for that. And they had practical solutions for the problem which they diagnosed. They had committees like you have now to assess the environment and to find out what's the problem. And like we see in Cordova, there was the first waste container and the first disposal facilities for litter collection. These are something that we use nowadays, even nowadays. Now libraries and research. There are few libraries, well, one in Alexandria which was burned, but it still exists.
I don't know what is this. Check it out. Libraries and research. Oh, such a boring topic.
A caliph, he started a translation movement. Books were brought to him, and what they did was they translated all the books into Arabic. Now what did this? What the people now who couldn't read those books are now able to read because they know Arabic. So this helped Muslims to grow in technology even further, and especially the Greeks. It helped Muslims advance in medical field because their books were really important for the medical purposes. And now the status of women. We commonly see that women are being held in homes. You always see that they are burned alive, or there are all sorts of problems with the women. Now back then, the belief is the same. That back then these things were happening. But contrary to that, the women at that time had their rights and had the freedom to do anything. Like take a simple example of Hazrat Khadija, the first wife of the Prophet. She was a successful businesswoman. And then take example of Hazrat Aisha. She was a very learned person, and people used to come to her and to consult. Now, so females back then were practicing their profession freely. But we are trying to establish that now, and we are not even successful at that, even so many years later. And I would like to call Haris on stage to conclude the presentation.
Thank you, Zain. I'm Haris, and my job is to summarize everything for you people and then see what we can conclude here. Now, everything on these slides has a meaning. We call it futile because it's not easy to summarize about over six centuries in a presentation of about 12 minutes. That's not easy. That's why we call it futile. Everyone's familiar with this term now, the Dark Ages. And we have inferred that it was due to sheer prejudice that this age has been called the Dark Age. And we see that staggering advancements were made in every walk of life. Sciences, social sciences, environmental sciences, technology, and medicine.